Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're strapping in and hitting the afterburners with a deep dive into a true 80s classic, Top Gun.
Yeah. This film is pure adrenaline-fueled cinema, a heady mix of, high-flying action, heart-stopping aerial combat, and, of course, that iconic soundtrack.
Okay, so we're talking about a film that's become like a cultural touchstone.
Yeah.
But what really makes it tick? Is it just the thrill of the ride,
Mhm.
or is there something more beneath the surface?
Well, at the heart of Top Gun is Maverick, played by a young Tom Cruise. Absolutely oozing star power. He's the epitome of the hotshot pilot, a rebel with a need for speed. Pushing the limits both in the air and on the ground.
Right.
Even his call sign Maverick perfectly encapsulates his defiant, rule-breaking nature.
And that opening scene,
Yeah.
where he goes toe-to-toe with those MiG fighter jets near the Persian Gulf, is a masterclass in establishing a character, right?
He's cool under pressure, pulling off daring maneuvers, even flying upside down just to taunt the enemy pilot. Oh, yeah. That scene isn't just about, showing off Maverick's skills, though. It also reviews his recklessness. Remember, his wingman, Cougar, is so shaken by the encounter that he can barely land his plane.
Right.
Maverick's need to push the envelope almost had disastrous consequences, right from the get-go.
That's a really good point. His instincts are sharp, but they also get him into trouble. That conflict, that tension between his talent and his recklessness drives the entire film. It's what lands him at Top Gun, the Navy's elite fighter weapons school in the first place.
Exactly. Top Gun itself is almost like a character in the film. It's a pressure cooker environment where the best of the best are pitted against each other, competing for the coveted Top Gun trophy. The
Yeah.
intensity of the training, the constant scrutiny, it all creates this atmosphere of fierce rivalry and relentless pressure.
And the rivalry between Maverick and Iceman, played with icy perfection by Val Kilmer, is electric. You have Maverick, the instinctive risk-taker, always flying by the seat of his pants, versus Iceman, the cool, calculating strategist who plays by the book.
Yeah. Their clashes are fascinating because they represent two very different approaches to achieving excellence. Maverick relies on intuition and raw talent, while Iceman emphasizes discipline and precision. Neither approach is inherently superior, and the film explores the strengths and weaknesses of both.
And the training sequences themselves are incredibly intense. The way the film captures the speed and the G-forces of those fighter jets, even today, is just breathtaking.
Oh, for sure. Director Tony Scott really pushed the boundaries of filmmaking here. He worked closely with the Navy to get unprecedented access to F-14 Tomcats, and even developed special cameras to capture the action from inside the cockpits.
You can really feel the visceral thrill of flying those jets, the way they maneuver, the power of the afterburners. It's an experience that stays with you long after the credits roll.
Absolutely. But as we see throughout the film, that thrill comes at a cost. The stakes at Top Gun are incredibly high, and Maverick's constant pushing of the limits leads to a tragedy. That shakes him to his core.
The death of Goose, his RIO, or radar intercept officer, during a training exercise, is a gut-wrenching moment. You see the life drain out of Maverick, the guilt and the grief, as he realizes the consequences of his actions.
Yeah. It's a pivotal turning point in the film. Maverick's swagger and confidence are shattered, and he's forced to confront the possibility that his recklessness may have cost his best friend his life. This isn't just a setback for Maverick. It's a full-blown crisis of identity.
It's heartbreaking. And it's interesting how the film doesn't shy away from showing the emotional fallout of this tragedy. We see Maverick wrestling with his guilt, his grief, and his doubts about whether he can even continue flying.
Right. It adds a layer of depth and complexity to the film, reminding us that these high-flying heroes are still human, vulnerable to the same pain and loss as anyone else. And it sets the stage for Maverick's journey of self-discovery and redemption.
It makes you wonder, can he overcome this tragedy? Or will the weight of his guilt ground him forever?
That's a question we'll explore further as we continue our deep dive. So I've got Maverick, reeling from the loss of Goose, struggling with guilt and self-doubt. This is where the film delves into some really interesting emotional territory.
Yeah, it's not all high-octane action. It really explores the human cost of these high-stakes missions. And there's a scene where Maverick visits Goose's widow, Carol, played by Meg Ryan. That just tears at your heartstrings.
Oh, yeah. That scene is so powerful because it underscores the ripple effects of Maverick's actions. It's not just about him and his career. It's about the families and loved ones left behind, the people who bear the brunt of the sacrifices made.
Right. It's a reminder that even in a world of fighter jets and adrenaline, There are real-world consequences to every decision.
Exactly. And amidst all this emotional turmoil, Maverick also finds himself drawn to Charlie, a civilian instructor at Top Gun, played by Kelly McGillis.
Their relationship is an interesting one. It starts with this undeniable spark, this playful banter, like their first encounter in that bar, where he follows her into the ladies' room.
Right.
But it develops into something deeper, a genuine connection between two very different personalities.
Yeah, Charlie represents a grounding force for Maverick, a voice of reason in his chaotic world. She challenges him to think beyond his own needs, to consider the bigger picture.
And she's not afraid to call him out on his recklessness. She sees his potential, but she also worries that he's going to self-destruct if he doesn't learn to control his impulses.
It's a classic opposites attract dynamic, but there's a real sense of maturity and depth to their relationship. They push each other to grow and confront their own vulnerabilities.
And their romance provides a nice counterpoint to the intense all-male world of Top Gun. It adds an emotional layer to the story, showcasing a different side of Maverick.
But it's important to note that the film doesn't solely rely on the romantic subplot. The supporting characters also play a crucial role in Maverick's journey.
Absolutely. There's Viper, Maverick's commanding officer, played by Tom Skerritt, who serves as a mentor figure. He understands Maverick's struggles and offers guidance when Maverick needs it most.
Viper's conversation with Maverick about his father, a pilot who died in combat, is a pivotal moment. He encourages Maverick to confront his past, to understand that true courage isn't just about reckless daring, but also about facing your fears and honoring the legacy of those who came before you.
And let's not forget Iceman. Their rivalry, while intense, also evolves over the course of the film. There's a grudging respect that develops between them, a recognition that they both share a passion for flying and a commitment to excellence, even if they go about it in very different ways.
Their dynamic is a reminder that even rivals can learn from each other, that different approaches can coexist and even complement each other.
And speaking of memorable characters, we have to talk about the iconic soundtrack.
Oh, the music, those soaring guitars, those driving synth melodies. It's pure 80s magic. It's impossible to hear Danger Zone without picturing those F-14s streaking across the sky.
Right. The soundtrack isn't just background music. It's woven into the fabric of the film, heightening the emotional impact of every scene. The music amplifies the thrill of the aerial sequences, underscores the intensity of the rivalry between Maverick and Iceman, and adds a layer of pathos to the more dramatic moments.
It's a prime example of how music can elevate a film, creating an immersive experience that stays with you long after the credits roll.
But Top Gun isn't just about heart-pumping action and a killer soundtrack. It also has something to say about ambition, rivalry, and the sacrifices made in service to one's country.
The film taps into this idea of pushing yourself to the limit, testing your boundaries, striving for greatness. But it also acknowledges the risks and the potential consequences of that ambition.
It's not a glorification of reckless behavior. It's a nuanced exploration of what it means to be a hero, the challenges of leadership, and the importance of learning from your mistakes.
And as we head into the final act of the film, those themes come to a head in a climactic battle that tests Maverick's skills and his character like never before.
All right, so we've got Maverick grappling with the loss of Goose, trying to navigate his feelings for Charlie, and facing off against Iceman at Top Gun. But the stakes get even higher when he's called upon to lead a real-world mission against enemy MiGs.
Yeah, this final act is where all the threads of the film come together. Maverick's skills, his recklessness, his emotional baggage, it all comes into play as he faces a test unlike anything he's ever encountered.
The tension is palpable in that final mission. It's a high-stakes aerial dogfight with the odds stacked against them. And at first, you see Maverick hesitate. The memory of Goose haunts him, and he's almost paralyzed by fear.
Right, that moment of hesitation speaks volumes. It shows that despite his bravado, Maverick is still human, still deeply affected by the trauma he's experienced. He's not the same carefree hotshot we saw at the beginning of the film.
But then something shifts. He hears Viper's voice in his head, urging him to confront his fears, to remember his training. And in a flash, he's back in the game, pulling off incredible maneuvers, pushing his F-14 to his limits.
It's a breathtaking sequence, a testament to both Maverick's skill as a pilot and his resilience as a human being. He doesn't let fear control him. He channels it into action, using his experience and his instincts to outmaneuver the enemy and protect his team.
And there's a sense of redemption in that final victory.
Yeah.
He proves to himself and to everyone else that he's learned from his mistakes. He's become a leader, not just a reckless daredevil.
Yeah, it's a satisfying arc for the character. And it's beautifully captured by Tony Scott's direction. The aerial sequences are thrilling, the pacing is relentless, and the emotional payoff is undeniable.
And we see the impact of that emotional journey in the final scene. As Maverick lands back on the aircraft carrier, he's greeted as a hero. But there's a newfound humility in his eyes. He's not just basking in the glory. He's carrying the weight of experience, the knowledge that even in victory, there can be loss.
It's a powerful ending,
Yeah.
one that leaves you pondering the complexities of heroism, the balance between individual brilliance and the need for teamwork, and the sacrifices made by those who serve their country.
So looking back on Top Gun, it's more than just a flashy action film. It's a story about growth, about facing your demons, and finding your place in the world. It's a film that captures a specific moment in time, the 80s with its exuberance and patriotism, but its themes of ambition, rivalry, and redemption are timeless.
And while some aspects of the film haven't aged perfectly, like some of the dialogue or the portrayal of women, it's hard to deny the impact Top Gun has had on popular culture. It's a film that launched Tom Cruise into superstardom and inspired a generation of aspiring pilots.
It's a film that you can revisit time and time again and still find something new to appreciate. Whether it's the adrenaline rush of the aerial sequences, the iconic soundtrack, or the compelling characters, Top Gun has earned its place as a cinematic classic.
And that, my friend, is what makes Top Gun such a fascinating subject for a deep dive. It's a film that, on the surface, is all about speed and spectacle. But beneath that shiny exterior lies a story with heart, soul, and a surprising amount of depth.
Well said. It's been a blast taking this deep dive into Top Gun. What are your final thoughts for our listener today? What should they take away from this exploration of the film?
If you haven't seen Top Gun, I highly recommend giving it a watch, even if you're not usually a fan of action movies. There's something here for everyone,
Right.
and if you've already seen it, maybe this deep dive has given you a new perspective on the film, its characters, and its enduring legacy.
Great advice. And remember, folks, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more great movie reviews. Until next time, fly high.